Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace, my go-to for building a website and online shop. Hello dear friends! Today's video is going to be a little different. Instead of my usual detailed oil painting time lapses, I'm going to actually do an exercise that was one of our homework assignments from art school. So right now it is September, it's back to school season, and even though I'm no longer an art student, I find myself really craving these exercises and assignments that we would do in class to help brush up on and hone our fundamental skills. And I think one of the most important skills that we practiced in school was human anatomy. So as a student, we would often be asked to reference this book, and one of our biggest assignments was to actually we'll read the entire book and then we would copy drawings from the book. That's basically the art school version of taking notes. The book is called Figure Drawing, Design, and Invention by Michael Hampton. I'm not sponsored or paid to make this video or recommend this book, but this is the book that we use in our class, and I really love it. It breaks down human anatomy for artists in a way that's super easy to understand and has been immensely helpful for my understanding of human anatomy. So I thought it would be useful to ring in the start of school season and do some of these exercises with you all today together. So let's get started. But first, I wanted to show you all my sketchbook that contains all of the visual notes that I copied from the textbook. This was one of the biggest assignments in our school, and this took me about, I would say on average, probably an hour a day, 5 days a week, over the span of a few months. I really loved this exercise, as repetitive and as monotonous as it got. Just the simple act of drawing these figures and diagrams and muscle studies over and over again really helped me understand anatomy, more so than reading the text. I guess it makes sense since we're in art school, we're visual learners. But yeah, this was just such a useful exercise, and something I encourage everyone to do is find like a favorite anatomy book or reference, or even reference photos, and just try to copy them and do studies of them and repeat that as many times as you can. So in addition to drawing from the live model, we also had this textbook, and this went over, things like skeletons, gesture, simplifying anatomy, and it just, all these factors together helped really build that strong foundation of understanding and being able to properly render anatomy. So yeah, highly recommend. And let's get started with our own little exercise now. I'm going to warm up my drawing muscles by first copying some gesture drawings from the book. I'm using a black watercolor pencil from Faber-Castell because it makes very creamy, subtle strokes, and they're not erasable, so it forces me to be decisive with my marks. To be totally honest, I don't think gesture drawing is my strong suit. I'm much more into slowly rendering super refined oil paintings. So if it wasn't for school reminding me, I end up not practicing these fundamental skills very often. Instead of getting bogged down and distracted by all the details, gesture drawings force us to observe the bigger picture. We don't need to worry about capturing likeness or perfect anatomy. Instead, we are focusing on the movement, weight, and exaggerating the aura of the pose, so to speak. They're not meant to look like refined, polished, finished pieces of art. Instead, the point of these exercises is just having done them in the first place. Gesture drawings should only take a few minutes, and the point is to do a lot of them very quickly, many, many times. Okay, now that we are finished warming up from the book, let's try to create some gesture drawings from reference photos. Let's start with an easy, straightforward pose where the model is standing in a simple contrapposto, which means the angle of the shoulders is the opposite of the angle of the hips. For stationary standing poses, I like to pay attention to the angles of the shoulders versus hips. You know, a contrapposto is a very commonly sought after pose, especially in the figure drawing world. I also like to pay attention to the line of the spine, as well as any interesting shapes created by negative space, such as the little triangles of negative space inside the arms as she places her hands on her hips. The next pose is a lot more challenging and dynamic, as it appears to be a snapshot of the dancer mid-action. By the way, I found all these reference photos on Pinterest by searching gesture drawing reference photo. For this pose, I tried to emphasize how the center of gravity fell on the leg in the back and exaggerated the scrunch of the torso on the right and the stretch on the left. I also made a mistake by getting distracted by the head because it was a slightly tilted profile that was partially obstructed by the arms. It was just so hard for me to approximate the head to look correct without adding in any details. Anyway, lesson learned from me, do not put this much detail into your gesture drawings, especially not on the head or face. For the last pose, I wanted to showcase how the model doesn't need to be in movement or even need to be upright in order to showcase gesture. Gesture can be found in stillness and relaxation, not just dynamism and strength. The captivating gesture of this pose is the model's slouched posture, showcasing a relaxed head and spine succumbing to the weight of gravity. The arms and legs are tucked closely near the torso, which means that we need to make sure they are positioned and measured within a roughly reasonable degree of accuracy in order to convey the proper weight of the pose. We can measure the angle between the knees, shoulders, feet, and head, and try to recreate the same angles in our drawings in order to position all the limbs accurately. As usual, I'm using faint wispy lines to first approximate where I want things to be located, and then only darkening the lines once I'm more confident in the placement. Anyways, that about wraps up today's video. Thank you all so much for watching and practicing gesture drawings with me. If you'd like to see more of these types of videos, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you'd like to see hundreds of hours of exclusive painting tutorials and monthly art rewards, feel free to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/happydartist. And of course, you guessed it, my eternal never-ending sale is still going on in my shop, so if you'd like 20% off your order of prints and originals, just enter the code HOLIDAY at happyd-artist.com. And if you're interested in learning more about how to paint and draw, I have lots of art educational content on my Patreon page, including exclusive video tutorials, step-by-step photo tutorials, live streams, podcasts, and even surprise art gift boxes. All available at patreon.com/happydartist. I'd love to have you join my Patreon family. A big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and supporting the art community. Squarespace is the best platform to create a professional website and online shop. Their beautifully designed templates are easy to use for beginners and look great on both desktop and mobile. I've sold my art through Squarespace for almost 10 years, and I can attest to the quality of their online commerce features, whether you want to sell digital or physical items. They also provide useful analytics that help you make the most of your online business. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/happydartist to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Also, if you want to check out more artworks, works in progress, and just random daily artist adventures, feel free to check out my Instagram, and you can follow me at the handle @happydartist.